Coming up on Mississippi Roads, we visit the Brandon Amphitheater, tour the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Museum in Meridian, attend the Goat Festival in Coldwater, and rock out at Brookstock. All that coming up now on Mississippi Roads.
Down Mississippi Road. Mississippi Road.
Hi, welcome to Mississippi Roads. I'm your host, Walt Grayson. This week, we're coming to you from the Amphitheater in Brandon. And the reason we're here is in this show, we're going to be talking a lot about music and entertainment. And of course, here at the Amphitheater, we get nationally known acts coming through here all the time, as well as other places in Mississippi. But in our first story, we really want to concentrate on the superstars that we have right here in our state. And probably the best place to find out about them is at our first stop, and that's the Arts and Entertainment Museum in Meridian.
The Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience, and we call it the MAX for short because the name is a mouthful. It's all about celebrating art and artists in Mississippi, in the whole state. So we are a state facility that is that the state has given us funds to help build the place, but we operate it. So we are an independent 501c3. But the museum is itself is owned by the state. And so we welcome everybody around the state, around the region, around the world to come to Mississippi to find out what it is about Mississippi artists that makes it so interesting.
You know, I think there's a lot of museums where they are what we would consider to be a no-touch museum, and certainly those have a lot to offer. But we're different in that aspect in that we can really allow children in particular to touch and to feel and to experience. And that's what makes us a little bit different from other museums. We are really looking to provide a true experience where guests can come in and have a hands-on opportunity where they can go through our interactives, where they can see and experience in a way that they wouldn't normally be able to do.
I've been in museum work for over 30 years, and I've never seen anything like this of what we've created. Usually museums are totally object-centered and the experience comes from the object. Well, we built an experience around the objects that's so unique, and the stories of these artists and entertainers that have come out of Mississippi that I think it's going to be extraordinary for people from around the world to learn something new about our great state. Yeah, the Hall of Fame and the Walk of Fame are really central to our story too, because we want to pick out those particular artists who've made extraordinarily significant contributions to America's culture and to global culture. And you see that when you walk the streets of Meridian. We've been placing stars for years in the sidewalks, and now they're beginning to filter up to the museum, and they'll go all around downtown. So not only in the museum do you have an experience, but in downtown Meridian you do too. This museum's going to tell a totally different story about this state. They're going to learn through our artists and entertainers the great things about Mississippi. They're also going to learn about the struggles that a lot of these artists went through to get where they are today. And it's told in a wonderful narrative that I think people from around the globe are going to come here and just really enjoy everything they see.
Our painting and pottery exhibits are especially popular. Again, it's an interactive hands-on experience where they can really create a piece of art themselves. They can see that I can do this, and it's a way to showcase artists in a different way. And also they can email that to themselves when they complete, so they can share it with other people as well. So that's a really popular exhibit. Also, our kitchen area is a little bit different and unique and special in that it can offer a chance to see and showcase chefs in our area in a different kind of light. So our plates can move, and it's an interactive experience where they can see recipes and gain a better knowledge and understanding of Mississippi chefs.
There's a boat that you can go and sit in and imagine yourself on the river And it shows you how an artist might have been thinking when they were drawing or painting pictures of that. So people are really surprised at the things that make it so immersive, that really explain about the art. So this museum is not just for artists. Of course, I think everybody has art somewhere in their abilities, but it's also for anyone who loves nature, who bring their kids here and they want to have them express themselves. But they're just in awe, really, at the number of people who are well-known artists, very famous artists, who are from Mississippi.
And we're going to share the powerful impact that Mississippians have had on the world and the global culture. In one of our films, Eric Clapton talks about how he wouldn't be where he is today if he hadn't bought that Muddy Waters album as a child. And I think those are the kind of stories that are really important. The second part is education. We're all about education. So if one young lady comes into this museum and learns who Eudora Welty is, and then picks up one of her novels, she's on the road to an education.
The point is that we wanted there to be artists that were recognizable, but we also wanted there to be artists that maybe were not as well known, and that, you know, guests would come in and maybe want to pursue a little more information, maybe want to dig a little deeper, maybe want to find out a little bit more about someone that they didn't know about. And it's pretty frequent that we hear kind of on a daily basis, I had no idea that person was from Mississippi, or I had no idea that this person was even involved in this genre, or, you know, those kind of things come up pretty frequently. So for myself, true, it's been an absolute learning experience, and I've enjoyed finding some new things about myself, even about things that I like and appreciate, just from being here daily and being able to experience things on my own too.
I remember that when we had our first Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and Richard Wright's grandson was there, and he commented that even though his grandfather wrote this famous book, many famous books, that if he were here today, he would be proud to come back and be a Mississippian.
After you leave these exhibitions, you have a whole new opinion about what Mississippi is. A lot of the negative things that we have to own, we can also equally, if not more, own terrific things that have happened through our artists and our entertainers, and we're highlighting the positives about this great state.
You're going to introduce yourself and maybe to your children new ideas about what it means to be an artist, because there's a little art in all of us. So, and when they come in, I mean, it sells itself. We can talk about it all day, but people really need to come in and see what we have to offer to the great state of Mississippi.
Lots of people have lots of fun coming to the open-air concerts here at the Brandon Amphitheater. That huge stage and the giant screens pretty much means there's not a bad seat in the house. Makes a memorable experience for everybody who comes out. In our next story, we meet a young lady who is trying to keep the memory of her grandfather and his music alive in an outdoor festival in Coldwater. It's called the Goat Festival. Yes, goat. No, it's not what you think. Let's go see.
My grandfather, Otha Turner, he started it in his backyard. Just family members and close friends. People will come out, listen to good music, and hear the fife and drum band. And over the years, it got bigger and bigger, and more people heard about it, and it got overseas, and it was nationwide and worldwide. And people from Paris came last year to perform, from Germany was there performed, and it's just gotten huge. My goal is to continue to, carry that tradition on as long as I can. Of course, with help from others, with great help from others, and just keep it going like he did. People just come out, lawn chairs, blankets, and relax. And be a lot of live bands performing. And the Rising Star Fife and Drum Band, we'll play in between while the next band is setting up. And they come for the famous barbecue goat. That was the tradition that he had because he only raised hogs and goats. So he started doing goat picnics. We boil it for like 6 to 7 hours and chop it up kind of like pulled pork. And you would never know the difference until they were like, hey, that's goat. That's how we keeping the goat, and we named it this year the Goat Picnic, which is greatest of all times. Well, he's first off my granddad, and he's the master of fife and drum music. He started way back in the day, the 50s, 60s, and playing fife and drum, which is this is the fife right here. Playing fife and drum, hill country blues, and it's kind of like a folklore tradition. So he picked it up from Mr. Napoleon Strickland and started playing and put him a band together with the Grand Boys. Back in the day, it used to be just strictly Otha Turner fife and drum music. But now, when you come to one of the Rising Stars shows, you get a little bit of pop for the young people, hip hop for the young people, a little bit of gospel, a little bit of blues. So we try to keep it all generations and keep it fresh. I love to see people's reaction when they hear it the first time. This is bamboo, it's bamboo cane. And the holes are burnt, and it's no sheet music. If you just pick it up, pour some water in it, play. It's that simple. I live right next door to my granddad, and I will always see him picking up the fife or having it stuck in his back pocket, and I was like, I want to do that, I want to be like my granddaddy. So I borrowed his fife, and I never took it back. Eventually, he made me my own fife. I had a clue what I was doing, but to him, I was the perfect fife player at that time. He passed when I was 13, and that's when I got serious about it. Because at first I was just, it was just another hobby or just something I do in my spare time. But once he passed, I was like, okay, I gotta make my mind up if I want to do this for real or just let it go. So that's when I started taking it very serious. I kind of look at it like I was the chosen one, out of all the grandkids that he have, I was like the chosen one, the one that had to take that task on. We just try to keep it close to how he had it as we can, because I don't want to branch off and start doing all this new stuff and be like, hey, it's not the picnic anymore. It's a blues festival, or it's a concert outside or something. So we try to stick to that feel to give everybody, when they come, they feel at home, they can laugh and do whatever they want to do. So we want to keep that family, that feel, and make sure Otha keeps smiling, because I got a feeling if we change it too much, he might come down and tap me on the shoulder or something.
I heard her say she don't want you no more. She don't need you no more. She left your best outside the door. I heard her say she went and found somebody new, and now you don't know what to do. She left you broke and sad blue. So why don't you fly with me? Baby, just run away with me. Baby, just let yourself be. Fly with me. Baby, I can give you what you need.
My granddad's spirit, when I play, it's like a part of him just moved through me. And people can see that, they can see that through the shows and how we play. They can feel his vibe. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna feel him the weekend, because this is his picnic, and I'm not gonna say he's gonna show up, but his spirit would definitely be in presence. And I just want everybody to know about tradition that he started. This is something that he started back in the day. He didn't know it was gonna be this far. And I just can't let it die. I just can't let it die down.
You know, you can travel most any road in Mississippi any time of the year, and somewhere along that road, you'll find a music festival going on. Now, in our next story, we talk to music historian Dale Rushing about a specific road in Mississippi that's named for a specific kind of music.
Being from Tupelo, you gotta love Elvis. The network of musicians that played at Sun Records and recorded at Sun Records were all kind of connected back to North Mississippi. The Rockabilly Highway runs from I-22 on Gloucester Street in Tupelo north to the Tennessee state line. Tennessee had already adopted Rockabilly Highway, and of course the first thing I thought was, why is McNairy County involved in rockabilly music? But then I began to realize that they had some history, but at the same time I'm like, well, Mississippi's got to have as much history, if not more history. Some of the big names that traveled up and down the highway, I mean, you had, of course, obviously Elvis, and Johnny Cash was in the area quite often. You had Jerry Lee Lewis that was in the area, Carl Perkins. They were traveling down the road, and Johnny Cash actually, from what I understand, suggested that Carl write a song called Blue Suede Shoes, and of course, Amory, Mississippi has got the storyline that was all kind of created there in Amory, but the first time it was ever played publicly, it was played by Carl Perkins in Amory, Mississippi. So that's, to me, a good bit of history right there. The Corinth area up there had the Coliseum Theater there that Elvis played at. One of the things that happened with Elvis is he left his guitar at Borum's drugstore in Corinth, and he had to go back to Borum's and pick the guitar up. You had Vaughn Theater over in Boonville that hosted some concerts. You had the fairgrounds at Tupelo was kind of, I call it ground zero for the artists at that time. In 1970, Sam Phillips and Homer Ray Harris came to Tupelo and set up shop here and built a recording studio. So when they came here with that experience both of Sun Record, High Records, and anticipation of actually creating a whole music scene in Tupelo, and very much like what Muscle Shoals did back in the 70s. They used it for about 4 to 5 years, and they wound up in a lawsuit with Hugh Hefner and Playboy Records. So the studio had kind of laid there dormant, and then I guess people had forgotten that the connection there was with Sam Phillips. I tell people all the time, Memphis and Nashville may have built the stadium, but we provided the players that played there. And this is where they cut their teeth on the performances here and how they learn how to tweak their performances and become better artists.
The Brandon Amphitheater seats about 8,300 people, and it has really enhanced the entertainment scene here in central Mississippi since it opened. In our next story, we travel to the city of Brookhaven, who, in an effort to enhance their entertainment scene, holds their own version of Woodstock every year, except they call it Brookstock. And it really started off as a reunion among friends, but now it's a music festival open for everyone.
Brookstock weekend, and it is jam-packed full of activities, and this place is buzzing.
It is significant. I mean, the hotels are full, the restaurants are full, and it's like a big homecoming.
Brookstock is in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Therefore, Brookstock, Woodstock, that whole thing. We started this in 1998 for a class reunion. We got our old high school band together.
Brookstock started off as a class reunion for a lot of the main musicians there. Don Jacobs and Virgil Brawley and Brian Batson and Ed Tree. Spare us the misery for heaven's sake.
We were in class of 68. I moved here when I was 8 years old from Florida. And it was pretty much culture shock. Everybody was hunting, fishing, playing football, baseball. And as I grew older, I realized I wasn't into sports particularly. I wasn't into hunting and fishing. And in about 1964, the Beatles came along, and suddenly it was like, bam, a whole new deal. And that kind of opened me up to a lot of stuff. I got fascinated with the music, the idea of songwriting. Virgil Brawley approached me at school one morning and said he'd heard I played a little guitar and would I be interested in starting a band. I was immediately like, yeah, you know. I always wanted to do that, but I never would have had the courage, I think, to do it on my own, or not at that age anyway. So suddenly I had band status, and in high school that was a big deal. By the time we got back together for what became Brookstock, we had not played together in 30 years, and in the meantime, everybody had improved as musicians. And so by the time we got up to play, we sounded better than we ever had before, and we had a blast. And we decided we should get together every year and do this. So the first 2 or 3 years, it was a little, you know, we had like 75 people one year. And I didn't think it would last more than 2 or 3 years. But here we are 18 years later and going strong. And it's gotten a lot bigger over time. I mean, now people are planning their vacations around it, you know, local people. And so we've got them coming from all over the place, even overseas. We've got a man all the way from Scotland here this year.
Callum came a long way and the ferry down from Stornoway. He couldn't be a fisher, a dream weaver, well-wisher. Well.
The first thing that struck me is one of the guys in the band, you know, as soon as I met him, he asked me if I needed a guitar, which, you know, for me that's been par for the course all week. You know, just people are so friendly and generous. So I mean, that's really, I think, it's been the main aspect of my stay in Brookhaven. The people are just so friendly. Southern hospitality. That's what you hear about, but I've experienced it firsthand. Yeah.
We will have the singer-songwriter, Brookstock singer-songwriter at Recess 101.
5 singers, 3 songs each in the round. And it's not just my age people now. It's starting to be younger age people that are starting to come. For instance, tonight, Sophie Smith is singing tonight on the singer-songwriter stage. She was one of the kids last year. This year, she's a seasoned veteran and is writing songs that are just going to kill you know.
I lost my school spirit when I heard that you had graduated. I'm feeling faint like your cologne, and I searched in my pocket.
Friday night at the Haven, we have Brookstock 2. And so that's some of our younger guys and gals that play and write songs and are amazingly talented.
It's Kid Rock. I mean, these kids, they're part of Greg Smith's Rock Academy here in town. And Greg is the guru. He is the guitar guru, one of the best teachers I've ever seen in my life. And these kids, he gets these kids to play stuff. He's a magic man. And that night, I sort of put it together, but Greg assembles all the talent.
The whole city has it feels like it's kind of taken the whole thing on. And gradually the whole music scene in Brookhaven has just kind of grown. Thanks to people like Tyler. He's got the music store, Tyler Bridge. They offer lessons for kids. They've got a rock school. It's kind of like the community has come together to build a music scene here.
I never in a million years dreamed it would have become what it has, but it's just the people who participate really love doing it and are passionate about the music, and the town and the surrounding areas have supported it wonderfully.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. If you'd like information about anything you've seen, contact us at mpbonline.org/Mississippi Roads. And make sure you like our Mississippi Public Broadcasting Facebook page. And check out our Mississippi Roads Facebook page. Till next time, I'm Walt Grayson. And I'll be seeing you on Mississippi Roads.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.